Okay. Well, basically, I created a device that locks or unlocks a firearm using fingerprint. So, let's say you want to go buy a firearm, if you're old enough to buy a firearm, obviously. You can go to the store and purchase a firearm just like you would normally. But after you purchase it, you can register your fingerprint to it so that you're the only person who's allowed to use it. It's very easy to add like a spouse or somebody else. So what it basically allows is that, for having firearms in a house or anything like that, there's a much greater sense of security around, even if a kid does get a hold of it, there's nothing they can do with it. It started off with, just like, oh, I did well at the local science fair, and then, oh, I did well at the state science fair. Oh, I did well at the international science fair. And that's as far as I ever thought I was going to go. And, I kind of, to some extent, stopped working on the project for a little while. After that, about a couple months after the International Science Fair, I saw a application for the Smart Tech Challenges Foundation. And the Smart Tech Challenges Foundation is this group that was created by a bunch of really smart, really wealthy people in Silicon Valley to foster innovation specifically in smart firearm technology and to reduce this needless gun violence that we have every single day. And so I applied thinking, okay, I'm just a teenager.
Right.
Probably not going to be able to compete with big companies. But it turns out I could compete, and as of this summer and then really starting just a couple weeks ago, I received a $50,000 grant from them. Mm-hmm. So once that happened, they have people who work really hard to do press and stuff like that. And so once I received that grant, it kind of just exploded. And was featured in like 30-something news organizations.
Okay.
There's the oh, congrats guy, always, but other than that, not really. It's like people are used to it by now.
Okay.
Well, Again Technologies is pretty simple. It's just a continuation of what I've already been doing, and it's a company that works to create smarter firearms through biometrics. And so I took my existing technology, and now that I'm getting closer and closer to actually having something I could sell, I figured I needed a company. So with some of the grant money and everything like that, I worked to create this company, and it's still very in its infant stages, but we'll see what happens with it in the coming years. I said I started this sophomore year, and one of the main things I've done since then was obviously work on the project, but also talk about it.
Yeah.
Because it started as a science fair project, you're required to start talking about it from pretty much day one. Because if you want to compete at a science fair, you have to talk to judges, and how well you talk to the judges pretty much solely depends, affects how well you do. So, to some extent, I've been talking about this pretty much nonstop for the last 2 years. So obviously, while TED has its own intricacies, and it's slightly different to do a TED Talk than anything else, it's not an unfamiliar topic. And so I did the preparation, I had everything ready beforehand, I had my speech, and of course I was nervous, but I've been on stage my entire life and I've been talking about this for a while, so it wasn't too bad really.
How many people were there?
About 1,000.
Wow. And when will that be up? When will we be able to watch that?
It should be like next week.
Okay.
Alright, so I've had a number of different interviews, some just like an interview over the phone with a reporter, or going down to a radio station, reporting a radio broadcast. And then of course there's the film interviews too. I've had Fox, ABC, and NBC, Al Jazeera America, were the big ones that have done stuff on me so far. And of those, probably the most interesting one, I'd say would be a tie between the first interview that I did, what really started all the press, which was the Colorado Public Radio interview. And that was just over the radio. And then the other one that was quite fun to do was with Al Jazeera America. Al Jazeera is a big international news organization. They started in the Middle East, and so it was very cool. There was definitely a level of professionalism that wasn't there for me. I'm pretty much over the next year and a half, roughly, which is how long I have that $50,000 for. I'm just going to be working on taking my current design, refining it, improving it, and so it should mostly just be like small changes. We'll see what happens. It really I have danced since the age of 3, so I'm a competitive jazz dancer. I do a lot of photography and cinematography. I road bike. I cook. Let's see what else. There's a lot of them. And then just computer stuff, general. Lots and lots of computer stuff. What I always tell people is that 5 years ago we didn't have an iPhone, and now it's something that's completely prevalent, completely obvious. And I'll be graduating college in about 5 years, so I could say, oh, I want to do something interesting, or I want to be in technology, but there's no way to predict what's going to be happening even in 3 years, let alone 5. And so I honestly can't answer that. I want to do something interesting, probably with technology, but it could end up being with graphic design, open. I think the biggest thing that is going to be an issue for our generation is two main things. One is going to be keeping from destroying our planet. With the course we're going on right now, we're going to be extinct in 100 years or 200 years, and that's obviously not a good way to continue developing the human race. So I think one of our biggest challenges is going to be doing something about that and raising public awareness and actually doing something to change what we're doing, to the planet. The other thing probably is going to be, managing technology. There's every day there's really, really cool technological inventions, and over time those are going to get really, really powerful. And there's definitely we're going to need to work on making sure that we don't turn to people who are just 100% constantly connected all the time. Like I love my phone. I'm on it all the time, and there's a lot of stuff I do that I couldn't do without it. But we didn't have an iPhone 5 years ago. Now everybody's on their iPhones. In 10 years, we probably won't even need the iPhones. And so that's something to think about.
Right.
Just probably that none of this probably would have happened without Fairview. Fairview is a really, really cool environment, and this is probably a lot more obvious to you guys because you're here. But as I'm talking to reporters, they're kind of like, well, this is really cool, and you must be the only person doing stuff like this at your school. I'm not. I have a friend developing a novel type of antibiotics, who's won international science fairs, and another one, Logan Collins. Another one of my friends is curing cancer and developing the next hottest mobile app. And Fairview is an environment that really fosters this kind of stuff. And that's all the programs and the support and stuff we have around it really contribute a lot.